Hello, welcome back. Right now we're going to be making a sourdough starter for making our own homemade bread. It's going to take a week to do, but hopefully it's going to be very simple, and we're going to be gathering our own wild yeast. So here's what we're going to start with. A bowl, some flour, just plain regular flour, and some warm water. That's all it takes. Okay, so we're going to take just a few spoonsful of our flour and some of our warm water, and we're going to mix that together thoroughly until it becomes a consistency of thick double cream. And then we're going to go around the house and round everywhere trying to find some wild yeast. It's been in the incubator for 24 hours. We're ready to check it out and see if we've got ourselves some yeast. Let's have a look. We're looking for bubbles. It looks like we've got ourselves some bubbles there, and it stinks. I'm not sure if you can smell it out there, but it really stinks. So it's been over a week now that we've been doing our sourdough starter project, and we've had a few problems along the way. Initially it stank really badly. It was the most putrid, awful smell, and really smelt bad, and we weren't getting many bubbles, and I think maybe we were keeping it somewhere too hot, and the alcohol liquid was separating out to the top, and I think that was causing it to kill the yeast being grown inside. But now you can see we've got a wonderful bubbly consistency, the consistency roughly of that of thick paint, and it smells not entirely dissimilar. It's actually quite a pleasant smell now, and the solution has been to feed twice a day and use a little bit less liquid and keep it in somewhere warm but not hot. I think initially it was maybe too warm there, too hot, so somewhere nice and warm but not hot. And actually it really smells pretty good now, wouldn't you say? Mm-hmm. Pretty good. So we're about ready to start making some sourdough bread, and I think it should be pretty cool. We need to make, I think, what's called a sponge. I don't really know a great deal about that. We'll need to research a bit more of that, and then we'll soon be ready to make our bread. But as you can see, plenty bubbles, no foul smell. Something that would be worth pointing out though is that whenever you're doing this, hygiene has to be the utmost, because we're essentially growing a bacteria, growing the yeast, but if you aren't careful, you can start getting other bacteria growing in there, and then they're going to compete, and they're going to leave you with a foul tasting bread. And so if you notice any black spots or any mould or pink spots forming in your starter, it's probably time to throw it away and start over again. So tomorrow we start the sponge, which is the inevitable, leads us inevitably to the sourdough bread. Okay, so it's another week on. We didn't make it last weekend, but we're going to set about making our sourdough starter sponge. Okay, so in order to create the sponge, we need to take approximately 100 ml of our sourdough starter, which incidentally is still looking good, smelling good, it's magnificent. To that starter, we're going to fire that into the big bowl, and we're going to combine that with 250 grams of fresh flour, which we see here, already pre-measured out, our mise en place, and then we're going to add in 300 ml of warm water, and fire that into a large mixing bowl. We're going to mix it well with our hands, which are very clean, very thoroughly. You can use a wooden spoon. Then we're going to cover it with cling film, leave overnight, and in the morning it should be clearly bubbly, fermenting, thick, sticky, and uncommonly good. So the great unveiling of the sourdough sponge that we created last night. It's looking pretty bubbly, very heavily cling filmed. Here we go, have a look at that. Loads of bubbles. Pretty good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start getting ready to make our bread and we're going to add in the last bits of our ingredients. So first ingredient is 10 ml of salt. If you're not sure about how much 10 ml is, or 10 grams, sorry, 10 grams is equal to 10 mils. So I'm going to fire that in, and this is actually a 15 ml measuring cup, and now we're going to add in 15 ml of oil, just olive oil here, and that's the same as a tablespoon, so I don't know, some equivalents here. There we go, fire that in. And now we're going to add in the last of our ingredients. Very annoying. I thought it was going to be really smart, put in fresh batteries, freshly charged last night for doing our shooting this morning, and we used the flipper on batteries. You might have noticed that the video is actually a flipper, made with a flipper camera. The batteries that come with it, totally hopeless. They've just been thrown out and had to be replaced, so we'll not be using them again. Just use, the good thing about the flipper is it does take regular AA batteries. Enough of that. Okay, so you missed what the last ingredient was, we just fired it in anyway. The last ingredient was 300 grams of flour. And now we're going to beat the hell out of it. So, beat the hell out of it, and then we're going to be doing 10 minutes of kneading. So that's coming to the end of approximately 10 minutes of kneading, and it's taken on a slightly different consistency. I've been, from reading up on this, they say to try and keep it as wet as you dare. Well, this is as wet as I dare, and if it's too wet, apparently you add more flour, and if it's too dry, add more water. Fairly simple. We did it now for 10 minutes and we're just getting into kind of fairly nice shape, nice round shape. We're going to fire it into an oiled bowl, and we're going to cover it all in oil and leave it all day in a cool but draft-free place, and just let it kind of rise throughout the day. So we've had the sourdough sponge going now. It's had its first rise and it's significantly bigger than it was before, and now we're going to knock it back and get it ready for its second rising. This time it's going to be going into somewhere warm. Okay, so we're filming in front of a live studio audience today. We've got Chris and Michelle over who are hopefully going to try some later. So what we're doing here is we're going to be just knocking the air out of it a little bit on a well dusted surface. Nothing too vigorous, just squeezing a bit of the air out, and then we're going to fire it back into the bowl, which we're going to line this time and dust with more flour, because we don't have a proper bread basket thing. And just give it a little dusting in here, and squidge it down a bit and shape it up, and we're going to leave it for about an hour, maybe 4, and we'll come back and see what we've got into there. Comme ça. As promised, our homemade pasta. Let's have a look at it a little bit closer. We've got kind of tagliatelle style here, and more kind of spaghetti style here. Okay, so it's been about an hour and a half, maybe as much as 2 hours, and we've been proofing the bread for its second rising. It's looking about double the size, it's looking good, we're about ready to rock and roll. Out of the... Okay, so we're going to lightly flour the pan, which has been preheated for about 5 minutes. Get some flour in there, I'm not going to touch it, and then we're going to take our bread and we're going to lightly tip it out into there before scoring it. I'm not really sure how this is going to work. Any ideas?
Just flip it over.
Just flip it over. Okay, here we go. Look at that. Oh, a little bit ripped on the top. Here we go. Looks pretty good, I think. Right, we get that. Sharp knife, serrated. We're going to hold the pan here, and they're going to put a couple of slashes across the top. Don't know why, maybe just for effect. But we're going to do it anyway. Here it goes. And I think I've made a bit of a mess of that. Who cares? We're going to stick it in there. 15 minutes, then we're going to spray some spray some water in there. Water that we've had in there already is already Ready to go. We're having a look. Jesus, steam coming off. That's wild. Oh, hot, hot, hot. So we gotta haul it out and tap it. Just feel the bottom. See if it sounds hollow. Still not quite hollow. Let's give it a wee minute longer, maybe. Getting there. Definitely getting there. Maybe another 5 minutes. Okay, so this is our sourdough bread. It's been a month in the making. It's quite bassy. Sounds like it could be a bit hollow. Let's give it.
Alright.
Out over it onto our drying rack, and we're going to leave it there to cool down, and that's us. Okay then.
Unveiling of the sourdough bread.
It's still incredibly hot. We've not had it. We can't wait. It's not been allowed to.
It smells so good. We can't wait.
So we'll go straight in the middle. See what we got.
Oh, crunchy.
Oh, look at that crunchiness.
Watch your hands.
Let's have a look in there.
Oh, very nice.
Look at that.
Oh, that looks great.
Still slightly doughy there, I think. But okay, let's see what it tastes like. Very crunchy. I'm gonna have to get the hoover out later. And we've got some of our homemade foraged hawthorn jam to go on it, which will be nice. There we go.
How is the sourdough, guys?
Absolutely amazing.
Oh,
Lovely.
really good. Actually tastes
Lovely
like
and
sourdough.
crunchy on the outside, and
It's
nice bit
springy.
of sourness.
Good.
Really good.
Our sourdough bread with our foraged hawthorn jam.